All right, let's get started. This is the OpenAI prompt engineering page. Before we can start building with it, though, we need to set some things up. So I've created a fresh virtual environment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a LangServe template, a Lang or application with this. The reason that I'm going to be using LangServe is it'll make it easy to deploy this once I finish creating it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is bootstrap a LangServe project. I'm going to do that with the LangChain CLI. I'm installing it here. After it finishes installing, I'm going to create a new app. I will call it OpenAI Prompter. I'm not going to add a package because I'm going to be creating my own. I can then go inside it, and if I open it up, the main thing that I'm interested in is this LangServe server right here, which wraps around Fast API and will make it really easy to deploy my LangChain chain. The last thing I'm going to do for setup is set up LangSmith. So LangSmith is in private beta. If you don't have access to it and you're seeing this and you want to follow along, shoot me a DM on LinkedIn or Twitter, and I will get you access to it. What it will make it really easy to do is debug as we go along, and this will involve a lot of prompt engineering, and so we'll see how that becomes very, very helpful. Someone in a previous video commented that I should go over how to set this up more, so you can go to your projects. Let's even create a new project. Let's call this OpenAI Prompter. That's all we can do. Let's then go to setup, and then we can just export some API keys here. So you can just copy this, you can paste it here. You then need to add in your API key. You can do that. Let me move my face over here, and let's move this over here as well. You can do that by going to API keys, and all right, good, it's not showing mine, so you can create an API key and then put it there. I've already did this ahead of time, so mine's all set up, but if you needed to do that, this is how you do that. All right, so let's go back to this prompt engineering guide. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to copy it all, because we are going to be using this in our prompt to help us write better prompts. Let's paste it into a file, and then I'm gonna create my chain in a Jupyter notebook, and then I'm gonna put it into this app. And so the reason that I'm doing this, there's one real reason and one fake reason. The one real reason is that it'd be a pretty iterative process. I'm going to do some prompt engineering. Some of that I'll do in LangSmith, but some of that I'll do in the notebook as well, and we'll see why. And so having a notebook-like environment is really, really helpful because it's an iterative environment, and I can really easy iterate. The other reason I want to do this is I want to show how it's really easy to create a chain and then just export it from a notebook. Most of the time it's pretty simple. So let's save this. I've now got this Jupyter notebook. Let's load what I just put in there. All right, so let's do that. Let's import, we can print out the head, I guess, just to see it. Let's import some stuff from LangChain that we're going to want. So from LangChain core.prompts, import prompt template from LangChain core.output parsers, import string output parser from LangChain community.chat models, import chat OpenAI. So I'm importing 3 important things. This is going to be a pretty simple chain that I'm writing. We'll see. Maybe we'll get more complex, but it should just be pretty simple because I'm just going to use a model that has a long context window and can work with all these instructions. So I'm importing a prompt template. This will help me structure the inputs to the model. I'm importing an output parser that will basically just convert it from a message format, which is how the newer models respond. The chat messages respond with a message, but I really want just a string. So I'm getting that. And then I'm importing chat OpenAI, which is the LangChain wrapper around the OpenAI models, which are the ones that I'll be using. Now is the fun part, where I'm going to write my template for creating, or my template that's going to help me create a chain that can take in an objective and write a good prompt. So let's add this there. And okay, so this is actually an interesting point that I'll get to later, but basically what I'm doing right here is I'm going to have these instructions as a variable that I'll pass into the prompt. And I'll go into that more later, but for now let's just assume that's what we're going to do. And then let's add just some delimiters here, and then let's say based on the above instructions, help me write a good prompt. I want a prompt that... Okay, so what I actually want to write is not actually a prompt, but I want to write a prompt template. Because I think most people write prompt templates because they want to write prompt templates that then they can use in their code, or at least most LangChain users want to write prompt templates. Help me write a good prompt template. This template should be a Python string. It can take in any number of variables depending on my objective. Return your answer in the following format. This is my objective. So this seems like a decent first pass. I don't know, we'll see. And then we're going to create the chain. Okay, so as I mentioned, we have this thing here, which I'm going to pass in the instructions to. Let's see what would happen if we didn't do that, and if we just did like this, which you could also easily do. So if I did this, I would have prompt equals prompt template from template chain equals prompt chat OpenAI string output parser chain dot invoke, and now I'm going to pass in objective. What should my objective be? Answer a question based on context provided and only on that context. So this is a pretty typical RAG prompt, or retrieval augmented generation prompt. You want the language model to respond to a user question based on the context provided. So let's do this, and I get a key error, because basically what's happening is in these instructions there's other curly brackets which aren't variables that I want to format. They're just part of the text, and so this often happens when you're working with code or something like that, and we've gotten a lot of questions about how to deal with it. So my preferred way to deal with it is to do what I'd done earlier. Treat the text that has these unwanted curly brackets as input variables. And then, okay, so one way to do this is you may be thinking, okay, so that means that I now have to provide text as text here. And this is a little bit annoying because now you have two input variables. It's not the end of the world, but it's a little bit annoying. And if this chain is part of a larger chain, then it starts to get more and more complicated, more and more annoying. I had, that should be text. This is erroring because the model's not long enough. I could do some fancy RAG, it's just like barely over the context window, and I'm going to want to use this model anyways because this task is kind of hard, so I want a good model to do it. So this will just get me around that, and then let me also set temperature equals to 0 while I'm at it. So I could do it this way. I could pass in the text here, and this would work. Let's see what answer it gives. For the next time, I'll use streaming so we can start seeing what's going on earlier. All right, it's writing a long thing while it's working. Okay, so let's. This is a little unreadable because it's not super readable. What I'm gonna do is, all right, so this is LangSmith. This is me debugging. I want to see the output. This is all right, so this is better output. I get, oh, interesting. Okay. So, all right, so it's giving me some instructions on how to use it. I actually don't know if this is correct because of these curly brackets, but anyways, what we can do is, sorry, back to this, what we can do, there's a lot I want to show off, but first things we can do is partial the prompt. So we can now do this, and that means we no longer have to pass this in. So we're basically just partialing the prompt. We're passing in some input variables ahead of time before we even construct the train, and then because we know those are always going to be fixed and they shouldn't be variables, so we're going to pass them in, and then we can do this. I'm going to now change this to streaming for chunk in, or more accurately for token in chain.stream print token. All right, I need to add something like this. All right, so there we go. It's not exactly what I really want. I really want like just one. I really just want this thing. Template should be a Python. See if this helps. So it's not helping a ton. I can go back in here and I can start doing some prompt engineering here if I want. So one thing that I can do, it's not really that helpful here because this is a really simple chain, but if I wanted to, I could open up the playground, and it's also not helpful here because my prompt is really, really long and this isn't the grass. Oh, I can, okay, that's slightly better. So now I have this, and let's just do like a bunch of new that thing based on the above instructions. Help me write a good prompt template. This prompt template should be a string that can be formatted as if a Python F string. It can take in any number of variables depending on my objective. I can now run. I can now run this. Okay. Hey, that's pretty good. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm relatively happy with this. So let's take this from the playground. Let's bring it back in the notebook. for being a bit slow. Okay, so it's generally doing pretty good. I'm relatively happy with this. I might do a little bit more prompt engineering by the time this gets out, but I'm relatively happy with this for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it into LangServe now. I'm going to deploy it with LangServe. So I am going to create a new file in here. I am going to basically copy this chain over. That's done. I'm going to go into the server. So I'm going to edit this, add the chain you want to add. From app.chain import chain path prompter. Cool. I'm going to go back here and let's try it out and see what happens. LangServe doesn't find the file. That is right. So LangChain notebooks OpenAI what did I name it? OpenAI prompting. Oh, right. Let me just specify that. Let's try serving it again. And I'm going to poetry add OpenAI because I'm going to deploy this project later, and this will add it to the PyProject file. So it's going to save it. Let's try it again. Cool. So now, if I go to localhost 8000 prompter playground, I get this. And let's try it out. If I take this, add it here. All right, so I get back some streaming. I get back some nice stuff. Okay, so there's definitely some prompt engineering that I want to do. It's doing this. Let me pause the video a bit, do some prompt engineering, and then resume it in a second. All right, so I'm back with a little bit of a better prompt, and I will I'll include links to all the code, so I won't read it out here. Basically now, if I go here and I type in an objective, this gets me a pretty solid prompt that I'd use for retrieval augmented generation. So that's basically how we get to something that's deployed with LangServe. This is still all local, and so for the final part of this, I'll walk through how to do this on LangSmith so that you can share it with other people. As you see, so I have my personal tenant. My personal tenant doesn't have access to LangServe deployments yet on LangSmith. So this is an alpha feature that we're still testing. It's only available to a few people. If you are interested in being an alpha tester, please let us know, or please let me know. And we are not letting a ton of people off because we do want to make some improvements. But as we let more and more people off, we'll let me know, and you can be one of them. In order to show you briefly what it looks like, I am going to switch to the LangChain account. I'm going to go to deployments, and you'll see once it loads that I have a bunch of deployments here. These deployments are all connected to GitHub. So one thing that I'm going to do after this is I'm going to pause, set up a GitHub repo with this code so that I can easily deploy it. So let me pause and do that, and then I'll come back and walk through a new deployment and see what happens. All right, so we're back. So I'm going to create a new deployment. I'm going to click here. I'm going to choose this repo that I created, OpenAI auto prompter. Name it OpenAI prompting helper. I'm going to add some environment variables. Namely, I'm going to add OpenAI API key. I'm going to make it a secret. I'm going to pause while I put this in. All right, it's in. I automatically get a tracing project for this, so that's a big benefit of deploying on LangSmith, is it automatically connects to everything else in LangSmith. Right now, that's tracing. We'll make that testing and prompts and other things in the short term. I can now submit this, and it will spin up a deployment. And so here is this deployment. As you can see, it'll take a little bit, so I'm going to pause and come back when it's finished deploying. All right, we're back. Our deployment succeeded. We can now open the playground for this deployment. So we can go here, task. What was the task we had way back in the day? So let's just use the same task here. We can see it streaming. Awesome. And so we get this result. One thing we can do is we can give thumbs up or thumbs down. I like this one, so I'm going to click thumbs up. If I go back here, I can see it's only one trace count, but I can see the traces for this. So here, this is the most recent trace. I can click into it. This is a tracing from, this is the same tracing that's in LangSmith as you've been using it. So that's one of the big benefits, is it comes with all this stuff. It comes with feedback automatically hooked up. So we have a score here. And yeah, that's basically it for the video now. Hopefully this was pretty helpful in terms of getting a pretty simple chain. It's just a prompt, a model, and an output parser up and running using LCEL, getting around some prompt annoyances with all the formatting of the curly brackets, showing how to set up LangSmith, showing how to set up a LangServe project, and then showing the new LangServe deployment feature as well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments. Have a good one.